Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff from Burbank. Congressman, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
The Republicans are putting forth a couple different bills on immigration that would be sort of more broader, including some funding for the border wall. Are you going to support either one?
No, I'm not. They're both fairly draconian immigration bills, and they also don't do anything to solve this problem the president created with family separations. The Secretary of Homeland Security has said privately they may go back to separating children from their parents. This bill doesn't preclude them from doing it, and these bills are not going anywhere anyway. The reason these are coming up, Alex, is so many Republican members were signing what's called a discharge petition that would have compelled a vote on the DREAM Act, that the Speaker decided that we'll give you these other bills to vote on so that we don't have to vote on a DREAM Act. They know a DREAM Act would pass, and they don't want that taken up. And I think that's a real disservice to these young people, but it's a disservice to the country. This is merely a face-saving gesture, taking up these bills that are not expected, even if one of them passes, to go anywhere in the Senate.
Of course, we have more dreamers here than just about anywhere else in the country here in Southern California. But the big question now is also those kids that were separated from their parents. What happens to those kids? And what can you do as Congress to make sure that they get back with their families?
Alex, this is exactly the right question. And that is, these bills aren't really dealing with the most urgent problem, which is we have 2,300 families that are broken apart right now by our own immigration system, with kids scattered throughout the country, separated from their parents, sometimes by hundreds or thousands of miles, and an immigration system that doesn't necessarily know how to connect these kids with their parents. All of our attention right now shouldn't be on these face-saving bills on the House floor that are going nowhere. They ought to be in reuniting these kids with their parents and ending this trauma, making sure that it's not repeated. I don't have a lot of confidence that that's where the president's priority is. It's certainly where my priority is, and we in Congress, I think, need to demand that that be the focus of the government's action right now.
The president talked about his priorities and his thought process yesterday. I want to play that and have you react.
If you're weak, which some people would like you to be, if you're really, really pathetically weak, the country's going to be overrun with millions of people. And if you're strong, then you don't have any heart.
Does he have a point that we need stronger protection at the borders, and that's one of the main reasons he was elected? He talked about building a wall all the time, and this is what the people want?
I think the president completely misapprehends what strength is and what weakness is. It's really a sign of weakness when you have to resort to separating children from their parents. When you don't have either the presidential stature or the legislative ability to get your agenda through Congress, you can't get your wall built. And so what do you have to do? You take kids away from their parents. That's not strength. That's the worst kind of moral weakness, and it's been on abundant display. We do need an overhaul of our immigration system. We do need comprehensive reform, but holding these kids hostage is not the way to do it. And I think it's really the clearest sign that the president is weak and misunderstands really the mission of his office, and that is to make us a more perfect union and not to continually try to aggravate divisions along racial lines in this country, which seems to be one of his favorite practices.
So last question, and real briefly here, assuming both of those bills go down, is there any hope that Democrats and Republicans come together to pass anything, even if it just addresses this issue? Are you seeing any movement on that at all?
Well, we saw some movement up until recently with this discharge petition, where if you get 218 signatures, you can bring up a bill that the Speaker refuses to schedule. And in this case, it was the DREAM Act. When we got within 2 or 3 signatures of enough Republicans on that petition, that's when they scheduled these phony baloney bills as a way of avoiding that. If these fail, then maybe we can get to 218 and have a vote on a meaningful reform. That still isn't going to be the comprehensive package. That will probably have to wait until the majority in Congress changes, because the reality is the majority of the Republican members in Congress right now only want to build a wall. They're not interested in solving these problems. They view anything short of a wall as nothing less than amnesty, and then they're not about to prioritize this. So for that, I think we're going to have to wait until there's a change in the majority in Congress.
Which is why the midterm elections are going to be so expensive and such a fiery debate. Congressman Adam Schiff, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you sharing your views.
Thanks, Alex.
And we've reached out to the White House and asked them to share their views as well, and hopefully they will do so.